Hello, everyone. The last time we finished with station number six, but it was not even announced, so I wasn't sure whether I would be able to take it there, whether we would have time to go for station number six. So I decided to quickly take it to station number six again, but and also just add a few more things, and from there we continue. This is just a reminder. I don't expect everyone to remember what we are doing here. The 14 stations, Catholic tradition goes back to the times of Crusaders for sure, and most probably most of the stations had been identified at the times of the Byzantines. Yes, so we're talking here that the crucifixion was a common practice. However, throughout the Holy Land, there has been found to the date at least just one item, a human bone with a nail in it that is consistent with what what we believe was the death by crucifixion, death on the cross. The outline of the old city of Jerusalem. Again, the city doesn't look the same way it looked at times of Jesus. The modern look is somewhat similar to what it was at times of, in a way, times of the Crusaders, but there were no divisions into these four quarters, definitely. And then we would say that the Ottomans, starting from early 1500s, 1517, 1516, they would be in charge of the Holy Land and also in charge of the construction of the modern day walls. So the outline of the walls of the old city is actually is the Ottoman heritage, and the city looked different in times of Jesus. And as you can see, so this Via Dolorosa, route with the Church of the Holy Sepulchre here. Now it's the heart of the old city, but knowing that the Holy Sepulchre is the place of is the place of the crucifixion and the burial side of Jesus. It's not possible this could have been the area within the city limits. Definitely not. And obviously, at times of Jesus, there was no Muslim quarter because there was no Islam. Yeah, that's the thing. Um, let's let's move on. I'll quite quickly go over the stations very quickly. Herod the Great, a very important character here because, well, not exactly in connection with Jesus, but in connection with the architecture and archaeology, because we believe that Via Dolorosa, according to Crusaders, starts from the place of the trial, which Crusaders believed was the Antonian fortress built by Herod the Great, and it was supposed to be just next to the Temple Mount. And there is also another option for it, another alternative, which I will talk about in the very end of the tour. This is the model from Israel Museum. And the first station, according to Catholic tradition, starts exactly from the Antonia Fortress. There is no Antonia Fortress anymore, but there is this the school building that actually has the bedrock. It rests on the bedrock, which is believed to be the bedrock on which the Antonia Fortress used to be standing at some point. The city looks also different because in the 70 AD, the temple was destroyed, the Jewish temple was burned down by the Romans. And then in the next century, in 135, the entire city was razed and rebuilt again, erasing all the memory of Jews and looking very pagan. So very different. Station number two, Jesus is made to bear his cross, Church of Flagellation. So this is the uh, there are two churches that we visited together with you. Next to it, you can find just hovering above the streets the arch, Ecce Homo, and it is believed to be also part of the Antonia portrait. And underneath us, there are several places that claim to be that lithostratus, the stone pavement on which Jesus walked after the trial, where he was given the cross to carry on his way to Golgotha. And that's the place, that's exactly one of those alternative sites not included on the official Via Dolorosa route. But again, we're definitely going out of the scope of the Catholic tradition because I'm after archaeology here. I'm after science history rather than the tradition. And well, this is the site we saw, and indeed, but again, because the city was destroyed, for the sites that remember Jesus or might remember Jesus, we need to go underground. We need to go multiple layers underground, and indeed, underneath this church, which was actually built in the end of the 19th century, the building itself, but underneath, yes, there is some archaeology, and it is true that there had been a prison. That's right. This is the alternative to station number two. And there were even found the special holes where you see, that's exactly what it shows here on the mosaic. That's exactly how Jesus would be, uh, well, trapped there, basically. This is where he would have to spend the night before everything started. Um, however, having said that, having said that, there is something on the surface that was kindly created for the pilgrims by the municipality of Jerusalem. 3 meters below the existing ground level, there were found the pavements from the Second Temple period, which means the end of the first century BCE, um, and the first century Common Era. These are the stones over there. Normally, this is where the Israeli IDF, the police would be on duty. But I filmed it very, very early. It was, I think, about 7 in the morning, 6:30, maybe even around that time. So it was still it was still empty in the streets. Uh, Station number three, station number four um, as well as some other stations, by the way, are not even mentioned in the New Testament. Well, station number three, Jesus falls for the first time, and this is the site of the Armenian Catholic Patriarchate. There is no such a mention of Jesus falling, but it's only natural to assume that the cross was extremely heavy. Jesus had been exhausted. Jesus had been tortured the entire night before that, so it's quite natural that he fell. That's true. However, there is no any quote to provide here. Jesus meets his mother. This is the station number four. This is also an Armenian church, Armenian Orthodox church, and um, well, there is also some archaeology. Unlike the previous station, station number three, there is a mosaic found, and I've included this mosaic here just once again, and this is the Armenian cross as a memory of the genocide of Armenian martyrs in 1915. So this, sorry, it was too quick. Let me go back very quickly. I hope this recap is useful. How is it taking? Okay. I'll try. Yeah, very good. So this is the Byzantine period mosaic that was discovered and included in the mosaic work of the floor of this church of the station of station number four. Station number five. Okay, there is something more substantial than just a tradition. This is the indentation in the wall is believed to be exactly the place where Jesus, who had fallen for the again, um, just leaned his hand against the wall, against the stone, and his hand left this indentation. Every pilgrim feels it's a must to touch it, and this station also marks the the help of Simon the Cyrene to Jesus. He just helped him carry the cross. He helped him stand up and continue his way. At that time, in the streets of Jerusalem, on those days, it was Pesach, right? It was Passover, pilgrimage festival, one of the biggest festivals of the three throughout the Jewish year. So the streets were swarming with people, and well, not many people would have noticed Jesus. I mean, people were all festive. Some people must have heard of Jesus, but it wasn't something quite unusual. Well, a person carrying a cross on his way to crucifixion, well, they couldn't care less. But Simon the Korean, however, it was not the case with him, as well as it wasn't the case for Veronica. station number six. So Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. It is believed that exactly on this spot used to be a house where a certain Veronica used to live. And she just happened to, well, she was just leaving her house as she saw Jesus approaching. He was sweating profusely. There was blood dripping on his face. And she just wiped his face. And this is when the image of his face got imprinted on the piece of cloth that she had. And we have some interest in archaeology here. This column, written in Latin, that exactly tells you of this event that I have just described to you. And this column is believed to be from the Crusader period. Does it mean that it's always been here? Uh, no, because the building that we can see nowadays is clearly end of the 19th century, clearly. But the column, well, it could have been placed here, it could have been found somewhere else, maybe not far from here, and placed exactly in this spot. Uh, however, however, there is an interesting chapel in this very small place, and you can even see the chairs. So technically speaking, you can even arrange a short mass or some, at least some spiritual talking, not necessarily a service. And you just need to arrange it beforehand because it's a very small place. And during high season, during well, in peaceful times, um, I don't think it will be very easy to arrange a service in there. Well, but anyway, this event again is not really mentioned in the New Testament. However, it's one of the um, stories around Jesus' final hours. And the word Veronica itself, Vero means the well, the true, Nika, true icon, true face of Jesus. Obviously, it's quite widely um, um, featured in artworks all over the world. Um, it, do we believe that this is the place from the times of Jesus? Definitely not. And well, does it mean that there wasn't a place here where a certain Veronica could have lived? Well, it's highly possible that a certain Veronica had lived here, but there's no any indication of that whatsoever. And again, that piece of a column, the half of the column, it could have been from anywhere, and it would just have been placed here at some point. But this is exactly the place where the icons are made. I wasn't allowed to film there. I wasn't allowed to take a photograph, so I only found a photograph of a nun painting an icon on the internet. And yes, this place, regardless, uh, it was visited during the first visit of the Pope in 1964, and it's still the place where the icons would be purchased. One of the best places to purchase an icon. So you can see that. But again, I wasn't allowed to take photos to film. I just filmed the chapel and left on my way to another station. So we move on. And yes, mind you, we're still in the Muslim quarter. Many people find it mind-boggling, but there's nothing that should trouble you because you already know why. It's very different. And as we go, however, I would say that the vibe in general is very much similar in a way. In what way? There are now the entire old city of Jerusalem is a big, big market. However, everywhere around us, people live, cats live, um, and their shops and the same would be back then. People lived in the old city, people traded in the old city, especially for pilgrimage festivals. I hardly doubt there would be such lovely ceramics, Armenian ceramics. I highly doubt. Obviously, there wouldn't have been any magnets, nothing of this kind, and but it would be still it would be just as vibrant as on average day during the peaceful times, not the pandemic, not the war. No, no, no. It would have been pretty much the same. And um, there would be some turns and twists. However, it's well, right now we are on our way to the seventh station, and then we would have to be turning right, turning left. That was not really the case for Jesus. So Jesus basically would have to be just turning once and then on his way to Golgotha. But because the city has changed, because the layout has changed, it's changed in the Ottoman times most probably, and uh, well, it's definitely changed after Hadrian's, after 135 AD destruction. But we understand that the city has would be destroyed and rebuilt again multiple times also afterwards. But the biggest change happened exactly at times of Hadrian, and well, also the Ottomans contributed a lot. So station number seven, Jesus falls for the second time. Again, not mentioned in the New Testament, but quite expected and only natural to believe that it could have happened. Um, Most of the time, this small chapel would be closed, and which is a pity because that chapel actually has some interesting archaeology for us. This is the map that I am using for the second time today. I have already used it a couple of hours ago. We talked about the Mamshit or the Memphis, the site in the Negev desert of the south of Israel. This is the name of the city during Byzantine period when it was a Christian site, and this is a map which was found in the sixth century in Jordan in a Christian church. And this map shows different Christian sites all over the world, especially the Holy Land, obviously. And this is the layout of Aelia Capitolina. This is the layout of the city built by Hadrian 135. And this is the corridor, right? From Damascus Gate to Zion Gate. It's just a straight line. And in fact, right now, we are exactly on this corridor. Every Roman city was supposed to have the main street called corridor, sometimes a secondary corridor as just a double, but not necessarily. And there would be also a decumanus, right? The secondary road east-west, but normally the north-south is the corridor. Don't confuse it with the harder from the word hard. It's not because it was the heart of the city, but because it was comes from the word cardinus, the hinges. Because this was exactly the gateway to the city from where you could go elsewhere. It was kind of the hinge for the city. And well, this is Church of the Holy Sepulchre, by the way. And we believe so. This is a straight line, and indeed we are already now on the way to the Holy Sepulchre Church. But because the city looks different now, uh, it doesn't really look that I would say that obvious. This is how the Madama map was found. It's just the floor mosaic. That's what's left of it. I would say it's an amazing finding because it definitely shed light to lots of stories around the Christian site with total ignorance towards Judaism. Definitely nothing, not a word about it. Well, this is a photo that I found online, and then on one of the visits, I was actually able to go inside the chapel. The chapel is new. I mean, the the altar is from the 20th century. Yes, it's beautiful, marble, gilded. Yeah, okay, not a problem. But this is new. However, what you see inside the chapel is quite interesting. You but just pay attention the at the column over here, right? Take a look at this, and it goes all the way up. It's definitely it has been this column had been here way before the altar, way before this chapel was built, much much early. You can see it's quite massive. It's much older than the rest of the construction, and you can see, right? That's quite interesting. And this uh, exactly this column is believed to have been one of the arches supporting the corridor. Well, because the corridor would be, as you remember on the Manama map, right? It was just a chain of shops from both sides. And we did several tours in the Jewish quarter where we also were lucky to see parts of the corridor as well. So that was just one of the same columns that would be on the corridor that is still you can find on the sections of the corridor. So this just proved the point that actually this is the the main road. And since on the Madama map there is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre just next to the next to Cardo, it means that before the city would be rebuilt, there had to be a wall, and there could have been also a gateway, an exit from the city. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe that pillar, maybe that column is also something from even the previous times, but we do not know that. And there's no way to prove it. So at least let's consider this is one of the pillars of the cardinal. Okay. So from here, technically, um, we should be going straight, right, to the Holy Sepulchre Church. I mean, not the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but the crucifixion side. And actually, the crucifixion side is really behind this wall because behind this wall is the Holy Sepulchre Church. But this is only the eighth station of the 40, only the eighth. Women of Jerusalem weep over Jesus. This this building, it's a monastery. It wasn't supposed to be here. It was built in the 19th century. But this, just imagine, it's not this building is not here, and imagine this is already outside of the city. So just behind this wall would be the place of crucifixion and also the burial and just all that outside of the city. And the eighth station, so the episode of women weeping over Jesus is actually mentioned in one of the Gospels, which is already something. So it's from Luke. During Jesus' journey to his crucifixion, he meets a group of women who are mourning for him. He responds to them, that's quite a famous quote, saying, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, weep for yourselves and for your children." Quite powerful words. Only natural that it was made part of the Via Dolorosa. And but because now there is this monastery and there's also the German religious facility as well. Um, by the way, this column is secondary use. Here it's written the Christos Nika. Nika means victory. So you could say Jesus Christ, the triumphant, the victory of Jesus. But this call is a secondary use. It's a secondary use. It was placed. This is most probably this is from the Crusader period. Well, the crown is believed to have been from the Crusader period. However, at what point it was placed in the wall, that's a good question. We don't know, but it's not supposed to be here. It was not. We are going to have a Q&A quite shortly. And this is by the way, this is the emblem of the Hospitalis order. And in terms of the Crusaders, there were so many orders, Teutonic order, Hospitallers, oh goodness, so many of them. And they would be building and building and building pilgrimage site, hospitals, um, hotels. Well, not the hotels, but kind of inns, the places to stay, and the churches, relying on the Byzantine tradition. And we're still we're still in the old city, and we have to go around, and we even have to we now we even have to go a bit of the upstairs. We obviously Jesus didn't have to do this. He didn't have to turn left. He didn't have to turn right and then turn around and then go back. Obviously not. It was a quite, I would say, quite a straight road, almost. But because of the changes, we'll actually have to go even upstairs before we go and see some archaeology. We need to go upstairs. We're going to have a Q&A shortly. I just would like to show you a few more things before we have the question and answer session. And yes, most of the Via Dolorosa is in the Muslim quarter, believe it or not. And this is not a problem. This is just how things are. Many people indeed find it quite puzzling and confusing. And sorry, I just could not but show you the halvas. Sorry for the glare. There's nothing I could do about it. But there's nothing. I also know I couldn't but show you. This is just part of the city. And actually, in my previous visit, it was just almost as crowded as it was in 2020. I think this is already 2023, springtime. So it's not really that crazy busy, but it's also early morning. Um, so yeah, okay. Hello, kitties again. Look at this. So this is just a door. This is a typical door of an average store. However, actually, this used to be the entrance to the Holy Sepulchre Church, which means that somewhere here used to be the wall at times of Jesus. Again, there's no way could have been within the city. And then when the church would be finally constructed in the 4th century by Queen Helena Augusta and her son Emperor Constantine, from here one could enter the Holy Sepulchre Church. Not anymore. And in order to actually see the church, we need to go upstairs and then downstairs and then upstairs and then downstairs. So we are somewhere here right now on this corridor, on this main street. Oh, quite challenging. So that's why many people find it absolutely puzzling, absolutely horribly puzzling and confusing why all this has to be done. And many unfortunately believe that that's exactly the route Jesus had to take. He didn't. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but at least he didn't have to take all these steps. And the last thing before the Q&A that I would like to tell you, to show you this building. We are very close to the Holy Sepulchre, as you might have guessed already by now. And this building is actually just around the corner from the Holy Sepulchre. And you know this building because this is the Alexander Nevsky Church of the Russian compound that was built by the Romanovs as part of the pilgrimage site for the Russian Orthodox pilgrims in the 19th century. That's what the church looked like. And as you remember, we did a tour about this church and we found some archaeology. We found some bedrock, which is okay because the bedrock is very significant for us because exactly on the bedrock Jesus would be crucified because it would be sort of an elevation on the bedrock. Okay, and there's also another very interesting construction within the church. It's common practice. There would always be some archaeology inside every building in the old city. This interesting part of a wall or something. And according to most scholars, this is not something that um, the that the Russian Orthodox would think, but uh, this is right now most scholars believe this is also part of the wall that had been here at times of Jesus, and it actually matches exactly on the same parallel with the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, exactly the same. So, and there had to be a wall. There had to be a wall. And we even believe that these used to be the gates, but at some point it would be replaced, or we don't know what would happen to it, why this column is in such a condition. We don't know that, but this is very consistent with everything that we've just been talking about. Well, and because of the Alexander Nevsky Church, we now need to go upstairs and a little bit around to eventually find ourselves by the Holy Sepulchre Church. Well, and we're saying that Jesus didn't have to take to take the steps while carrying the cross, but the pilgrims have to. The pilgrims have to do it, but not for too long, by the way. And if there's something that we won't be able to cover during this tour, we will finish next time and then head to the church. Again, we have 2 hours for the Holy Sepulchre Church, and you can already see the dome of it over there. This is the Holy Sepulchre. You see, we are very close, very, but because of this building, it's a bit challenging, and it's not easy to find your way in the old city. Right now, it it is easy to me, but when I just started, it was absolutely mind-boggling. It did give me nosebleed and headache and all sorts of aches. That's true. Everywhere you go, there definitely would be souvenirs, crosses, olive tree, carved mm, crucifix, all these beads, everything, um, incense, everything, oils, samples of the Holy Land, some holy water, the candles. Candles normally sent in the bundle of 33, but not necessarily. And this is the Holy Sepulchre Church. Again, the thing is that the Holy Sepulchre may not be the most beautiful church on the one hand, right? The building is quite eclectic, and if you remember what it looks like from the other facade, it sometimes people actually find it quite. But disappointing is not the word here, right? Because it's not about architecture; it's about the importance, right? What kind of things happened in the church. But normally people would expect it to be grand and huge, but because the church had been built over just several times, built and rebuilt, and there were so many issues around it, and well, went through so much turmoil, and also because the city is so congested and the other buildings are so close to it, it feels the church looks actually much smaller than it is. But from this angle, it looks a bit different. And I actually, from that side, I believe the church looks best. Station number 9. Jesus spoke for the third time, and this is also where the cross should be left if your group is carrying the cross. And from here, there are several ways you can go. From here, you can go directly to the Holy Sepulchre Church through a certain passageway, which we will see next time. But we're here for something else, right? I told you we would be going beyond the scope of the Catholic tradition. So again, actually part of the compound of the Holy Sepulchre Church, and you can actually enter the church from there if you go through the chapels. But I want to show you the Coptic site. There is the Coptic Orthodox Church, and also the Church of Queen Helena Augusta. Um, most of the time, by the way, the this Coptic site was closed when I was there. I'm not sure why, but on one day it was open. There was a service. Copts are Christian community from Egypt, one of the oldest, by the way, and when there were the councils in the Nicaea, the Council of Nicaea, for example, and before the Great Schism, some of the Christians actually left. They had to escape, and they would go to Egypt exactly, just not to undergo those changes and not to suffer the consequences. Um, well, I'm not sure how impressive the interior of this Queen Helen church is, and there were still works going on, but the archaeology here in this Coptic site is quite remarkable. By the way, Copts is quite a big community, officially recognized, and there is some archaeology there. By the way, this is Helena, Augusta, and Emperor Constantine, right? The cross over here, and we know according to the tradition, so the Saint Helena identified exactly this site as as the site of crucifixion because she had found a cross, and hence the depiction here. Now we need to go to the tunnel. It was a narrow, very steep tunnel. I nearly dropped my phone. I nearly banged my head, as you can see, and I couldn't leave my backpack. I had to go all the way with my backpack. It was not easy, but I did it because I wanted you to see a very special quarry. Sorry for the video. It's very dark in there. You can visit it just by leaving a small donation, and at least this how it was until 2023. Well, May 2023. I'm not sure about now. I haven't been there since then. And what you see, the very, I would say, straight line. This type of line would only be consistent with the quarry works. And don't ask me how, but archaeologists were able to identify this quarry as exactly the quarry from Herod's times. The chisel marks, I believe, the way the stones were chiseled out from the rock. And this is the Herod times. And what was the biggest construction during Herod times? The Temple Mount and the extension of the Temple Mount and the temple itself. So this is the quarry from where, among also others, the stones for the second temple and the Temple Mount would be taken. Isn't it amazing? And it's not the end. You can also see the layer of plaster. So when the quarry became no longer needed as a quarry, normally this type of spaces would be used as cisterns to just to collect water, either underground water or the rainwater, but this is the underground, obviously. And well, actually, it depends because there's also different ways it can work. It also can be both. Here is a hole. Well, actually, this is believed to be exactly the place where the water would be taken during the construction of the Holy Sepulchre Church. Exactly here. And we are so close to the Holy Sepulchre. And to me, this sounds very, very likely. I would say everyone agrees on that. It's not something that would be quite controversial to mention. Definitely not. These are exactly the holes for the bucket. These are the holes for the buckets, and there's still so much water here. So this theory definitely holds the water, right? Now I'm leaving, but before we go elsewhere, I still would like to drop by the main Coptic church building to the right from here. Um, it's that's the patriarchate of the Coptic Orthodox Church, the Saint Anthony Monastery, and you see the year 325 AD. As I said, Copt is it's a very old community, very old community. Um, there is an interesting inscription over there. So St. Jacob's Church, erected in the 4th century on a bedrock, it's an extension of the Holy Sepulchre and was renewed in the Crusaders era. It's built on a bedrock. And the Holy Sepulchre Church has this bedrock, right? So which which is definitely part of the of this bedrock, because all the bedrock is just bedrock, right? It is extension. And so we can say that this church is standing on some of the holiest bedrocks ever found, right? Quite impressive. And it says that it was renewed in the Crusader era, and this is totally correct because, well, yeah, there's also a souvenir store. And when I was there, I was actually surprised because this souvenir store well, the prices were a little bit lower. I would normally have several items that I would be comparing the prices to from one place to another. So that's I would say maybe because this is a little bit of the track just from I mean away from the all the stores. So maybe that's why it's a little bit cheaper. And there are some quite curious souvenirs there as well. Um, so it's quite a lovely place to explore. And they were exactly right. This is a Crusader period construction, and it shows. For example, one of the key features of Crusader architecture would be this type of arches. Exactly. Originally, they were referred to as Persian arches, but the Crusaders used them so much that now we consider them the Crusader arches. But it's not just that, but also elbow-shaped pillars the like here, or for example, for well, the, I will. There is also a better explanation to that. So you see the pointed arches, and this is the elbow-shaped column over here, or here. It does remind a little bit of the elbows in this. So there's no doubt this is from the Crusader period, and this is no doubt. This is one and the same bedrock, the one that we have in the Holy Sepulchre Church, basically around the corner to the right, and here in this church, in this Coptic church. However, before we go and explore the Holy Sepulchre, there is one more thing that I would like to talk about. We are so right now the Holy Sepulchre Church is behind us, is behind our back. Um, the um, the area we are now is called Moristan. I believe I showed it in one of my most recent live streams. Um, this is definitely already May 2023, I believe so. Quite busy because this is already, I think, maybe after my studies, or I would also go just to film. And yeah, the Muristan. I showed this area to you on one of my most recent live streams. And this word is slightly altered, corrupt word for hospital. And this is where the hospitalers, uh, well, originally the hospitalers, but also even before that, there were some medical institutions in times of the Byzantine Empire. Some of the first medical facilities at times of Queen Helena, because the first pilgrimage would start exactly at that time. So then the Crusaders hospitals, one of the biggest hospitals would be here and would have the capacity up to 1,000 people. And then in the 19th century, well, and right now here we're looking at the 19th century church, Christ the Redeemer. Mm, Huge building, remarkable, the tower of which you can see from everywhere. And this church was constructed for the arrival of Prince William II and Empress Augusta. And that's their visit, the official ceremony. Well, there were a lot of things prepared for that visit. And yes, first of all, this church had to be visited by Kaiser Wilhelm, and he visited the church. Um, because his visit, many things were changed, many things. The roads were even built, some of the very first roads would be built. And in this church is again, it's a modern building, right? It's just the end of the 19th century. Why would it bother us? Why would we even interested? Because this is a Lutheran church. Why will we go there? By the way, over here, this is from here you can see how how the building stands out. This is just a view of the city. And however, everywhere here in Jerusalem, you need to read between the lines and you need to dig much deeper. And yes, indeed, there is interest in archaeology underground. But the church itself was built on the Crusader site, on the Crusader hospital and the church. And the name Moristan still keeps this memory. However, we are not entirely sure how the word evolved to be mm, to turn into Moristan, but that's okay. So the building itself is modern. There is even modern stained glass from the 21st century. Um, as far as I remember, they hired some of the most um, acclaimed modern stained glass artists to work on the windows of the church. But it's beautiful, but it's really not relevant for us now because we want to go underground. And I will show you just a little bit, but why I'm doing it, not because I am in a hurry or I want to sleep. It's only midnight. It's not because of that, but because next time when we go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, it would be important to understand where the bedrock is, how it had been identified, and why exactly the site of the Holy Sepulchre. Does it mean this is the only bedrock ever found anywhere? I have already mentioned several bedrocks. That's an interesting story. So we will just mention a few things here, and then we will start from here next time. It's gonna take us some 5 minutes before we actually start looking around the church itself. And again, we have two episodes on the Holy Sepulchre Church, so you are not going to miss out on anything at all. I hope we are good on this. Well, if you go underground, like several, I would say several levels. Again, it's somewhat around 3 meters or so. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, just the steps underground. We do it in meters. I'm sorry. So they were able to identify another quarry, and they were able to date it to the times of Herod the Great and the construction of the Temple Mount and the temple. Again, those would be the chisel marks. Those would be the certain ways the stones would be carved from there, uh, from uh, from the rock. And next time I will be also using the infographics from the church, from this particular church. So they have quite an interesting infographic. They have some displays, and you are on the ground, right? It means that, okay, well, is there anything more than that? It feels that you are on the very, very on the lowest, but actually not, because you find out that underneath you there are still several layers from where the stone would be taken until but just before they would hit the bedrock. And so imagine me standing somewhere here, but that core that I showed you would be actually several meters lower, and they would go to the end of it to hit the bedrock. And this is where we start next time. I don't want to overrun. And again, this would make a lot more sense if I talk about it before we head to the church itself. Okay, so we are done for today. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know which library, Joe, you are talking about. I would like to share with you the links for the two episodes of the Holy Sepulchre Church. So just you could book it. But again, after we are done with the two episodes of the Holy Sepulchre, it doesn't mean we would wrap up with Christianity tours. No, that's not the case. There's so much more to explore. Thank you, Tracy. I would appreciate if you could sign up for the newsletter for those who haven't done it yet. Also, next weekend, I'm going to run the get together for my sponsors. We should have done it earlier. I will make it up to you. I have a lot to share. There's been a lot going on, meaning well. Also, on my YouTube channel, you can find the recordings as of yesterday. I will be adding the recordings as of today as well, and you can still find the recordings as of the previous weekend. I'm pretty sure they're still there, but I'm going to be working on them and closing access shortly. So make sure. How far was the cross carried, Carol? Um, well, from the first station to the ninth station, it depends how fast you walk. It could take you 15 minutes. It could take you 30 minutes, depending also how big your group is, how fast, how quick you are. You may want to stop. You may want to even to stop for a service, which is also, well, normally it's done, well, it can be done on a way, but most pilgrims would want to do the service already inside their respective chapels of their denominations in the Holy Sepulchre. So there are ways to do it. So it's not really that long. That's totally. Well, those crosses are the they're not they're quite massive, but uh, well, several people can easily carry it. For one, it would still be doable. They're not actually that heavy, and definitely not as heavy as the one of Jesus, obviously. But they're heavy enough to at least reconnect and try to imagine what it must have felt like. Oh yeah, we all have our crosses to carry. That's absolutely true. Yes, and also here are the links. If you would like to support me, thank me for the tours, you could either send me a PayPal donation or you could buy me a coffee. And on my website, you can find a lot more tours scheduled. I will be uh, uploading a few more tours, hopefully tonight. And once the schedule for the next weekend is ready, I will be sending a newsletter. This weekend, next weekend is going to be a bit different because on the 16th, my son actually is turning 9, and we'll be having a party. But the Holy Sepulchre tour is to happen same time as today. But my schedule is going to be a bit different. There's going to be some tours on the 14th. There's going to be some St. Valentine's Day tours as well, and well, probably sometime during the business days the next week as well. So that's why if you want to be updated about the tours I schedule, the best way to do it is to subscribe to my newsletter, which you can do on my website. Um, well, Joe, you can just book my tours from my website. That's the way to do it. Thank you so much for joining. 3 blocks from the Coptic Church in New York. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there would be so many churches built, even in Israel, there are so many churches built on a well, not like regular basis, but that's never a problem. Even if the building is new, doesn't mean that the community is new. Uh, Definitely. My son is turning 9. Yeah, not 39. No. Thank you so much for joining. It's been fun taking you around the world, kind of, in a way. And I'll see you on Thursday, February 13th for the get together with my supporters. Thank you and bye bye.